accordingly. Okay. So, welcome to the introduction to Vimalakirti Sutra. For this fall term, we have 8 classes, and just like the title, it is more of like introduction, meaning that we will use the 8 classes to kind of like go through the chapters, 14 chapters within the sutra. So usually when we start, we will start with a short meditation so that we can kind of like center ourselves, give ourselves just a few minutes just to bring our mind and body together. So let us go ahead and make sure that we are sitting upright. If you would like to have your eyes fully closed, you may go ahead and do so. If not, you can look downward, relax yourself. Let us just be aware of each breath that we take. Following the flow of inhalation as well as exhalation. Now let us start with our meditation. Now let us slowly taking a few deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in again, breathing out. Let us gently wrap our palms together. Let us cover our palms on our eyes, top of our head, over our ears, to the back of our neck. Let's wrap our palms together. Let's gently massage our shoulders, arms, all the way to our fingers and wrists. Okay. So, as some of you may have come across the Vimalakirti Sutra, it is one of the key Mahayana Buddhist scriptures or texts that highlights the profound wisdom and skillful means like of a lay practitioners like Vimalakirti. Vimalakirti is actually lay practitioners that we are going to introduce later on. And this sutra is notable is because it emphasizes both the importance of not only monastics but also lay people in the path towards enlightenment. Okay, so the whole teachings mainly focusing on non-duality, going beyond this and that, one and two, and then the teachings of emptiness, which is Sunyata. And of course, like there are 6 skillful practices that we learn along the way in this sutra itself. So, and of course, like the main focus when people talk about Vimalakirti Sutra, the first thing and always like is the thought of mentioning about the practice of the state of our mind that will actually influence our perception and experience of the world around us. So there's a one famous verse that says, when the mind is pure, the land is pure. So this is a general like overview about the Vimalakirti. As we start, this is our first class. So along the way, when I shared the contents today or even the future sessions, so if anyone has any questions, you can type on the chat box, or if you think of a question when you're reviewing the text during the day, you can always email me the questions, or we can discuss it at the beginning of the next class. Okay, so when it comes to the word Vimalakirti, this is a very common, and also when you Googled Vimalakirti, you'll be able to see this picture of him. So Vimala, yeah, the word Vimala has meaning of pure, stainless. Kirti is referring to the fame or glory. So Vimalakirti, the name itself, emphasizes, or it has a meaning of fame, of purity, or glorious purity. So when it comes to the word Vimala, pure or stainless is free from imperfections in a way. Kirti, when it comes to fame or glory, it is referring to not only about the reputation recognition that we usually refer to in a society, but it goes beyond. There's no attachment in the fame and glory in that sense. So the word Vimalakirti is referring to the name of a person, or depicting a person of well-practiced and go beyond fame and glory. Okay. So in this sutra, the main person, the main figure here is Vimalakirti. So who is he? Okay. So this happened during the Buddha's time. Okay. So Vimalakirti is depicted as someone who is wealthy. There's no concern over the 3 meals, no concern over having a roof on the top. Is a wealthy and well-sustained person with a family, wife and children. And then Vimalakirti is someone that is of very wise, highly advanced in one's spiritual practice. So the name itself reflects this character in the Buddhist tradition, symbolizing a person who is renowned for his pure understanding and realization of the Dharma. Okay, so despite not being a monk, he's not a monk, he's a lay Buddhist. Okay, so even though he is not a monk, but in the sutra, when we read along the way, especially next week when we talk about expedient means and disciples, the chapter on disciples and bodhisattvas, we can learn that in many ways his practice and wisdom surpasses many of the Buddha's disciples in wisdom and understanding. So with this sutra, it also highlights that enlightenment is not strictly only for monastics. Okay? It is anyone. Okay, just like what the Buddha mentioned when he realized full enlightenment, that every one of us, whether lay or renounced monastics, everyone has the potential to realize full enlightenment. Okay, so when it comes to Vimalakirti, like Verbal Master Xing Yun, when he was writing this commentary about this sutra, so Verbal Master kind of like laid out a few questions about different Buddhas or Bodhisattvas that we know of. So when people asked Verbal Master one time, what do you believe in most? And of course, Verbal Master believed most in Shakyamuni Buddha. So 2 years ago, when Verbal Master passed away or passed on, before that, he had asked us to recite the name of Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, there are two main reasons. One is Verbal Master believes that human will is the pure land of Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, and the second main point is Verbal Master Xing Yun make vows to return as humans and become a monk again in the future lives. So that's the reason why, like the first question is that when he was being asked, what do you believe in most? Of course, it's Shakyamuni Buddha. So what does Verbal Master praise the most? Is Amitabha Buddha as well as Medicine Buddha. So who does he respect the most? Is Guanyin Bodhisattva, the one that the Bodhisattva that is known of great compassion, or Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. And who is the most humorous? Verbal Master thought about Maitreya, because Maitreya Bodhisattva is all constantly depicted in a figure that is full of joy, happiness, and looks, beyond happiness. Or, when people see it, see the Bodhisattvas, we can feel joy, we feel funny, we feel happy. But then who is the happiest? Okay, that goes beyond the duality, that goes beyond worldly or super mundane. He thought about the Vimalakirti. Okay, so when it comes to Vimalakirti, what is the characteristics of his philosophy? What is his main teachings or realization, and what are his philosophy in a way? Okay, so the first one is remain unshaken by any state of praise or slander, praise, gain, loss, suffering, or happiness. So it's because Vimalakirti, his practice is beyond duality. Okay, so the focus is on non-duality. Okay, so in one of the chapter of the sutra, when he was being asked, okay, what is duality and what is non-duality? Okay, Vimalakirti, he didn't say a single word. He remained silent, because he knows that if he were to use a word to describe, that is being in one side duality in a way. It's just like when we try to describe something or want to say something, we have to say this or that. Okay, that's always big and small, dark, light, bright, this and that. Okay, so the other point is Vimalakirti, in his daily interaction with people, he always used he spoke in a wise way, guiding everyone or anyone that he came across towards practice, towards wholesomeness. So in many ways, that Vimalakirti is known for his wisdom in words. And the next point is compassionate reprimanding. You might be wondering, what does it really mean? Is just like our parents, sometimes out of compassion, try to remind us to do this and not to do that. So for Vimalakirti, he viewed everyone with a compassionate eye. So there was one occasion in the sutra that mentioned that Ananda, he was the attendant of the Buddha. So there was one time that the Buddha wasn't feeling well. So the Buddha asked Ananda to go out to ask for milk. Okay, so of course Ananda, during that time, it was very early in the morning, and Ananda, using the bowl, tried to ask for milk. Okay, and then he happened to come across Vimalakirti, and Vimalakirti asked him, "Why are you out so early for alms round?" And of course, Ananda told Vimalakirti about the whole story, the whole situation, And then he was surprised that Vimalakirti actually reprimanded him. He said that what you speak of is not only that, he reprimanded Ananda for saying that the Buddha was not feeling well, because the Buddha is like, only have the manifestation of, when you talk about the Buddha, you're only talking about the physical body of the Buddha. Okay, you're not really referring to the Buddha as the Buddha. Okay, so when you say that the Buddha was sick, you're actually criticizing the Buddha as a normal person. Okay, so if you were to talk about the Vimalakirti, which is a manifestation of the body of the Buddha will not feel sick. But if we talk about the physical body, of course, physical body is still part of causes and conditions. It changes. Okay, only then it will not feel well or feeling sick. Of course, yeah. So this is a point that Vimalakirti, when he come across this type of thing, he will remind disciples, whether you're monastics or lay Buddhists, he just try his best to direct people to the right understanding of the Dharma. Okay, so humor and skillful teachings in Vimalakirti's sharing. He shared the teachings like, anytime. Okay, so at some point he went to the gambling house place. He can share the teaching after dancing, after working, and many different ways in a very skillful way. Okay, so and equanimity is, even though Vimalakirti was wealthy, like he has almost everything, physical or material things. Okay, so but then he was always humble and never looked down on others, especially those who are poor or in a lower caste system. Okay, so when it comes to the teachings, like within this sutra, we'll be able to come across many of the examples that Vimalakirti practices non-duality, talking about the practice of emptiness and going beyond. Okay, and of course, with that, it also helps us to relate in our everyday life, because Vimalakirti, whatever that he shared, it actually relates to his daily life in a way. Right. So when it comes to the sutra itself, okay, what you're seeing here is one of the Chinese translation. Okay. So the earliest Chinese translation, it was done back in 188 CE. But that version of translation is no longer available. It was lost because it was so long ago. So one of the most common, or the translation that we use today, is translated by Kumarajiva back in like 406 CE. And that is also referring to the English translation by Burton Watson, which is one of the main sutra that the translation that we're going to use. Okay, so for those of you who registered, you should receive the syllabus in an email, or in the registration form. There's also, I think, no. After you register, you'll be receiving an email with the syllabus on it. So in the syllabus, very top, I've included two hyperlink with these two translation that you can view online. They are all in PDF format. Okay, so the Watson's translation is from the Chinese translation by Kumarajiva. So it is known for its clarity and like, easy to read. And it is making this this is a popular choice among practitioners. Yeah, of course, there's also another translation by Robert A.F. Truman. What German's translation is from Tibetan version. And of course, it's also like highly respected and widely used in academic and both Buddhist studies. Okay, so this is something that you can read because this sutra itself, in terms of the wordings, the translation, they are very straightforward. But when it comes to the contents of the teachings, there are many places that we can think and contemplate on. Okay, so this is something that I really like about this sutra. Okay, so let us begin looking at this sutra. So for those of you who have your PDF file or book um, by Burton Watson, or the PDF file that you have, or you can just refer to my PowerPoint slides where I include a few quote or cite a few paragraphs that is on the sutra. So at the beginning, the Buddha was in the Amra garden in the city of Vaishali. Okay, so Vaishali is actually, I'm going to share with you the map later on, is actually on north of Bodh Gaya. Okay, so with that occasion, you might be surprised that there were 8,000 monks, okay, and 32,000 bodhisattvas. So the picture that you see next to it is the AI generated image. Okay, I was trying to give everyone an image of how does it look like, imagining in a place, Amara Gardens. So where is it? So imagine that there are so many people or disciples, bodhisattvas, and it is actually in a very small garden in Vaishali. Okay, so if you look at the map here, you'll be able to see, okay, Vaishali is right there. So it's part of like the northeast of India. So it's actually like right on top of Bodh Gaya. Okay. So if we were to travel from New Delhi to Vaishali by car, is about like 15 hours. Okay. So like back in 2018, we had opportunity to visit India, and we actually took the train along the way, visiting a few sites of that relates to the life of the Buddha, and Vaishali, Bodh Gaya, Varanasi. These are the few places, including Lumbini. These are the few places that we have visited. It was memorable, like, you know, being there, standing where the Buddha was there 2,600 years ago. Yeah, so even like we went to a vulture peak where sometimes we read the sutras, imagining like there are thousands of like bhikkhus, 1,250 bhikkhus or monks in Vulture Peak. It's really hard for us to imagine in such a small place. How can we fit in so many people? So with that in mind, this also in Vimalakirti Sutra, Vimalakirti also mentioned that how we frame our own perception in a way. We frame ourselves to really frame within time and space. So when we see things, we are being bounded by the duality thoughts, like we still have the time and space in a way. And of course, I'm not saying that we don't go with the time and space. It takes time for us to slowly and gradually realize as we practice alone. Okay, so this is something to give you an idea about where it is, Amra Garden in Vaishali. Okay, so there was one occasion. Okay, so there was a man by the name of Jewel Accumulation. Okay, a son of a wealthy man in the city of Vaishali. He brought along, 500 other sons of wealthy men. Okay, so to come to the Buddha and pay respect to the Buddha, and offered them one each parcels, okay, adorned with the 7 treasures. Imagine like the is like umbrella parcels decorated with like 7 treasures, 7 jewels, and then with the 500 of them, 500 parasols, with a sincere mind, they offered the best to the Buddha. So the Buddha, with his, supernatural power, he everything, all the 500 parasols being combined into one, okay? And that single parasol spread over into thousands, millions fold of world, like going beyond this human world, beyond the whole universe, okay? And the man by the name of Jewel Accumulation, he asked the Buddha, "Well, honored one, these 500 sons of rich men have all set their minds on Anuttara Samya Sambodhi. They wish to hear how one can purify the Buddha's land." Okay. So this is the origin of this sutra. Okay, so the 500 men, 500 sons of the rich men approached the Buddha and then set their minds on Bodhi, like enlightening, like the path towards enlightening. They wish to hear, they wish to, ask the Buddha for directions in terms of how they practice. How can one purify the Buddha lands? Okay, so the Buddha, of course, reply in many different ways, giving examples one by one. And before that, mention about the various kinds of living beings are in themselves the Buddha lands of Bodhisattva. And the Buddha emphasizing that no matter who we are, no matter what living beings are they within themselves, within ourselves, the Buddha lands lays the Buddha lands of the Bodhisattvas. Why so? Because it is by converting various beings to the teachings that the Bodhisattvas acquire their Buddha lands. Why is this? Because the Bodhisattva's acquisition of the pure land is wholly due to his having brought benefit to living beings, meaning that how we perceive this world is actually how we live in this world. Okay, so that's the reason why when the Buddha, before going straight into how do we cultivate the Buddha's land within ourselves, okay, the Buddha mentioned about there's so many various kinds of living beings, and within ourselves, that is the Buddha land of the Bodhisattvas. Okay, and we see things according to how we see it. So for us to really have the Buddha land or the pure land within our mind is how we continuously help all sentient beings, continuously brought benefit or helping living beings. So the one sentence before the Buddha lists out all the different pure land, what is the pure land? One of the emphasis is on an upright mind, meaning that someone who is honest, someone who don't lie, is free from flattery, free from wrong views, and upright mind is the pure land of the Bodhisattvas. And the Buddha continues, okay, what is a pure land? A mind that aspires to Bodhi, meaning that a mind for us to constantly focusing on enlightenment, improving ourselves, and slowly and gradually moving towards enlightenment and discovering the truth. And of course, upholding precepts is also equally important, because when we can uphold the precepts at all times, our mind is thinking about others, because we'll be more aware whether what we think in our mind, what we say, and what we do, will it hurt others? This is in a way that we are upholding the precepts. And of course, forbearance is a pure land. Assiduousness, I'm not sure if I pronounced this word correctly. It's like showing great care, attention, and efforts for others. Okay, is also the Pure Land. Meditation or chant, that is also Pure Land. Eventually, what we practice, what we bring along, continuously cultivating wisdom. And 2 weeks ago, in one of the classes with Dr. Lancaster on Dhammabhumika Sutta and other sutras, talking about the different levels of Bodhisattva's practices and realization stage, Dr. Lancaster also mentioned about acts of goodness. Okay, in all times, if our mind can focus on doing acts of goodness for others, okay, that is also Pure Land. Okay, so just like what I mentioned at the very beginning of my sharing, is when the mind is pure, the Buddha Land will be pure. When our mind is pure, okay, the Pure Land is here. Okay, so I would like to share a little bit. So, for myself, every day, after breakfast, we have a small tiny garden. Some of you might know, taking care of the plants, seeing them grow, seeing them change, seeing them bear fruits, like the passion fruit, like the dragon fruit, or whatever that we plant in a small garden that we have, whether it's kale, beets, different type of vegetables or fruits that we can grow, by seeing how they change. It also, for me, I can see like this is the Pure Land. Even though I'm not like, interacting with people, like just the vegetation or just the plants, they can also remind me of the impermanence of life. They also constantly telling me about what is the Dharma that the Buddha shared with me. And there was one time that I just realized that the passion fruit that we had started like drying, and then started not only drying but dying. That was the first plant that I had, and observing all this, my mind felt that, when I know about what is impermanence, but when I'm experiencing impermanence, I experience it differently. I still feel I'm mentally entangled with emotions, and also being tied to the changes that I'm seeing. So that helps me reflect that I haven't really had an insight. I haven't really fully understand what the Buddha mentioned about impermanence. So just to share with everyone that where's the Pure Land. So tendering the garden is my practice of creating and thinking about the Pure Land. And of course, from time to time, when we had the opportunity to give blood, okay, so even though some of us might be afraid of the needle, but then if we can think of like, oh, this is something, the least that I can do to help those who are in need, even though it might be a whole full pint of blood, but knowing that this pint of blood can help like 3 or 4 lives, that brings us joy. Of course, like even though at this stage you might be thinking that, you are still attached to the idea of giving. Of course, yes. We are at this point, I'm still attached to it. To some of us, when we give, we feel the joy. It's part of the process for us to slowly and gradually make it a habit, so that in the future, when we give, we don't think about the person of giving, the me that is giving, or even the gift that we're being given, okay? Going beyond that. Okay, so when it comes to Pure Land, everything ties back to how we think, how we perceive our everyday life, our interaction with people, our interaction with the nature, even like a small act of helping or caring for others. At that moment, that instant, when we put others before ourselves, that type of joy is beyond words. They are indescribable. At that point, we can say that it is some sort of Pure Land that we experience. And of course, you might be saying that, what if we come across a difficult person. In life, like at work or even anywhere, sometimes we might come across a person that is hard for us to, we lack of affinity with each other. So sometimes like, it's hard for us to communicate, get along. So there are a few ways that, including myself, that I keep on cultivating, hoping that this will improve. Of course, first of all, is every day when we do our daily practice, it's not only that we dedicate merits to families, loved ones, and the whole universe, but I also dedicate merit to the person that I lack of affinity with. We can say like quote unquote difficult person, but I look at it as if that I still have much to cultivate in terms of the affinity with that person. Okay, so or with a few person, depending on you. Okay, so you might be wondering, why do you want to include that as one of the person to dedicate merits to? Okay, so just like the Buddha, we know that what is his name? Devadatta is the Buddha's cousin. But when Devadatta renounced and start practice as a monk, he was so into the practice at first. His mind was pure, but eventually, when he comes to fame and name, he got mistracked and he got distracted with his focus of his cultivation. And then he started thinking about taking over the Sangha. He was thinking about reprimanding or hurting the Buddha. But to the Buddha, in his mind, is constantly looking at Devadatta as someone that is helping him in his cultivation. Okay, in Chinese, we call it 善知识. Okay, so if reminding us of Devadatta and the Buddha is also a good reminder to ourselves that if someone that is hard for us to get along, it is part of our practice that we need to fulfill within this life. If not, we might come across similar situations, similar people, and then we have to do our homework again. Okay, so this is something just to share. Let us continue with the sutra, okay, within this chapter 1. Okay, so when thinking about when the mind is pure, the land is pure. And then here comes Sariputra, okay, one of the great disciples that is known of great wisdom. In his mind, he didn't say it out loud. In his mind, he was thinking about, Shakyamuni Buddha was born as a human, and he realized enlightenment in this world, this human world. Okay, so but then where is the Buddha's pure land? Okay, so in the text, if the mind of the Bodhisattva is pure, then his Buddha land will be pure. Now, when our world on the Buddha first determined to become a Bodhisattva, surely his intentions were pure. Then why then is the Buddha land so filled with impurities? So Sariputra was like thinking, pondering in his mind. Where is the Buddha land or pure land? Okay. So, and then the Buddha knew what Sariputra was thinking. So Buddha asked Sariputra, what do you think? Are the sun and the moon impure? Okay. Is that why the blind man fails to see them? Okay. Is it because of the sun and the moon's fault that a blind person cannot see? Okay. And Sariputra replied, no, Buddha. It is the fault of the blind man. The sun and the moon are not to be blamed. Okay. And then the Buddha continued, it is the failing of living beings that prevents them from seeing the marvelous purity of the land of the Buddha. Okay, so it is not the problem of the Buddha, but it's us living beings. So Sariputra said that when I look at this land, I see it is filled with knolls and hollows, thorny underbush, sand, gravel, dirt, rocks, many mountains, filth, and defilements. Okay, so this is what Sariputra mentioned to the Buddha. Okay, and then the Buddha continues to he paused a little bit because Brahman King started saying that it is just that your mind has highs and lows and does not rest on the Buddha wisdom. Okay, the Brahma King helped the Buddha to reply to Sariputra. Therefore, you see this world as impure. The Bodhisattvas or the Buddhas treat all things and beings with perfect equality. Okay, so the Buddha concluded by saying that my Buddha land has always been pure like this, but because I wish to save those persons who are lowly and inferior, I make it seem an impure land full of defilements. Okay, so this is another question for us to contemplate and think about, is when we look at this Saha wall, this is also the pure land, the Buddha land of Shakyamuni Buddha. So when the Buddha mentioned that my Buddha land has always been pure like this, but because I wish to save those personally, it's because the Buddha is trying to receive all of us, because we haven't reached that level of knowing and seeing what the Buddha is seeing. So what we are seeing is just like any other person who is still not enlightened are seeing. So just like what Sariputra mentioned, it's still filled with suffering. We have different emotions. There's ups and downs. We have attachments, longing, to many different things. Okay, but then to the Buddha, this is the pure land. And the Buddha mentioned that this land, this place, even though there's what we perceive as inferior, what we perceive as not like any other pure land in other places, but it is not the fault of the pure land. It is us, how we perceive it. Okay, so it's just like one of the metaphor and parable that the Buddha shared before. It's just like a glass of water. Okay, glass of water. To us, it is water. Okay, to the heavenly beings, they are considered a pure water of higher level. For the hungry ghosts, it is just like a pool of blood. Okay, to the fish, the water is considered their home. So with this metaphor, the Buddha is trying to let us understand that when we are in a different level of practice or different realm, we see things as according to what we know of. It's just like when we see things in comparison with our fur babies, dogs or cats, or even the pets that we have, the world that they see is different than how we see this world. Okay, and it's because of how we perceive it. As I said, for myself, I don't know how to read Russian. I don't know how to read German. Recently, we received a few boxes of like cookies that is filled with German words in it, or even like Russian words. So when I look at the box, I was like, huh, it looks like all the letters are in different places. It's because I don't understand the language. But after turning on the Google Translator app on the phone, screening through what is on the box, and it changed to English, and voila, I can understand what is it. So the same goes to what the Buddha is seeing than what we are seeing. That even like us individually, we look at things based on how we perceive it. Sometimes it is a problem of us, not others. And sometimes, like, when we have misunderstanding or when we see things like a person like walking by, we might use our own projection of how we perceive that person and say that, oh, that person looks so sad. That person looks so angry. That person looks so happy. It's because it's based on what we know, based on the projection of what we perceive. So does it really mean that that person is feeling what we're seeing? Sometimes yes, sometimes not really. Okay, so with the first chapter, when the mind is pure, the land is pure. It's a good reminder that every time, and it's also a question that we ask ourselves from time to time. When we're seeing things that we thought that it is true, we ask ourselves, am I seeing things as it is? Or I'm seeing things as what I want to see. The same goes to listening. The same goes to how we perceive this world. Again, always remember what the Buddha sees, this place is his pure land. But why can't we see it? It is a question that we should ask ourselves. Okay, so this is what I would like to share with everyone today. So let me stop sharing. Okay, where is it? Let me, are you still seeing the slides or?
We see your desktop.
Oops,
And it's empty.
where is the stop sharing? Okay. Technical. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we still have some time. If you have any comments or feedbacks, I know that this sutra is actually very, very interesting in a way. And then sometimes like you're thinking, is that real? But then in many ways, like the Buddha started with this. Chapter 1 is a good reminder that whatever that we read in the sutra, when we don't understand, it is a question that we ask ourselves. It is because of what the Buddha is saying is beyond our understanding or comprehension, or what the Buddha is saying, we haven't reached that level to really know it and understand it. But slowly and gradually, we know that, oh, okay, this is a reminder, and this is how we can relate to our daily practice, and how we can constantly remind ourselves that this is the Pure Land, the Buddha's Pure Land. Okay, so we're trying to continuously improve ourselves, cultivate towards that direction, so that hopefully that no matter who we come across every day, could be the people that we like or the other way around. Just remember, it could be just because of how we perceive them. It could be just what we think it is true, but sometimes it is not. Okay, so anyone have any comments or feedbacks?
There are 2 questions in the chat, Venerable. I don't know if you saw them already.
Okay, let me pull it up. Okay, let's see. The mouse is not really cooperating somehow. Could be. Okay, so let me click. Okay, what is an outflow? On the chapter, outflow, our own projections and reaction to what we perceive. And sometimes like it could also, you might come across the word defilements, or things that we don't understand, or we perceive it not so correctly. That is also outflows. Okay, in the German translation, they use Buddha field. Is it the same? Yes, Pure Land. Buddha land, Buddha field is the same. Okay, so there's a, between the two translation, I seldom refer to German translation, but it is one way for you to refer to, especially the English term, the English word. sometimes different translation, different words is referring to the same thing. Okay, so for myself, I refer to the Chinese as well as the English translated by Watson. Okay, but you can always cross-reference if you want to, especially those of you who are really good at the words, very sensitive towards like the use of the proper word, which is very good. And then if you find any distinction or commonalities, you feel free to share it with everyone in the class. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that question by Chris. Anyone would like to comment or answer? Where's Chris? Chris. Oh yeah, Chris is right here. Yeah, it's because I didn't really read the Vajrayana or Tibetan translation of Vimalakirti Sutra. Okay, so but then let me see. Yeah, so I cannot really answer your questions about the distinction. Just most of my reference is like between Chinese version by Kumarjiva, and also there's also a translation by Xuanzang, verbal Xuanzang, but I didn't cross-reference with the Tibetan ones. Yeah. Maybe Chris, you can look into it and then share with us. Yeah, in the Google Doc, the syllabus, the very top part, there's a two different translation you can refer to. Okay.
Venerable, question
Yes.
for you. At the bottom of page 2, going into page 3 of the Thurman translation, it refers to the Buddha gnosis, Gnosis, and it keeps being brought up in the rest of the chapter. Can you give guidance on what that term means?
Which
It
translation?
translates as wisdom. It's a Greek word that really translates as wisdom. Gnosis. Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat so you could see it. Thank you. It's for the Thurman translation, the end of page 2, going to page 3, it says, consecrated with the anointment of the peerless gnosis of the Buddha.
I only have the book version. Are you referring to the PDF?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me see. Hold up. PDF. Comment. Page 2.
End of page 2, going into page 3.
And page 2.
It says they had been consecrated with the anointment of the peerless gnosis of the Buddha.
The translation by Watson, yeah?
By Thurman.
Oh, okay. Oops. Page 2. They were endowed with the wisdom. Is it that line?
They
Yeah.
had the one after, they had been consecrated with the anointment of the peerless gnosis of the Buddha.
Oh, yeah. It's referring to wisdom. Yeah, some of the English words I have to look at the dictionary to understand it, especially the words that the Truman uses, because he's leaning towards more of the academic research side. Yeah, so that is also one of the reasons why I'm leaning towards Watson's translation, because in a way that the English itself is easier to understand.
So would it be, if you're talking about Buddha gnosis, are you talking about wisdom in terms of Dharma wisdom? Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes like if we were to refer to the worldly, we won't be saying worldly wisdom, but we will say worldly knowledge in a way, to distinction between the Dharma wisdom and what we cultivate in the society that we learn from the book. That is usually referred as knowledge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Prajna is also another word, wisdom. But the English word wisdom, it doesn't really exactly fully depict the Buddha's wisdom, which is sometimes we just refer as supramundane, like, knowing all the reality and also going beyond that. So the word wisdom is the closest English word that we can find. But just like verbal 玄奘, he will just use the word prajna as the Sanskrit word that refers to the Buddha's wisdom. Yeah, so some of the words that 玄奘 use it as per what is it in Sanskrit remain untranslated is because it's very hard to find the exact English translation word. Sometimes there's still like a gap from it. Yeah. Okay. So I know that I didn't really won't be able to answer all your questions, but thank you for Dean's help as well as Tom and anyone. If you have any notes or anything that you would like to share, you can always do so. Yeah. Okay. So let me share back to okay. The slides. Okay. They're getting used to. Okay. So let me share. Okay. Let me share. Okay. So next week we're going to read or continue chapter 2 and 3. So I know that within the time that we have, I won't be able to share all the contents. But if you have anything that you would like to share or anything that you would like to ask in the class, you feel free to ask. And we're going to focus on chapter 2 on the expedient means and chapter 3 on the disciples in terms of like when the Buddha asked them to see Vimalakirti, everyone that the Buddha noted or assigned their decline, you'll be able to see the reason why. Okay, so let us do a dedication merit. Let's all join our palms. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So, okay, stop sharing with. Okay. So I hope everyone have a great week, and then thank you for sharing, for joining me in this class. Again, like this is a discussion, and I hope that whatever that you have questions or anything that you're not clear, feel free to cross-reference among the different translation, and welcome everyone's feedback on what you have discovered. Okay, so it's like a learning together. Okay, so thank you everyone, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.